describe the depth in your room, is particularly what a guy like Jamison provides, because he got thrown in there. Obviously, Malik got hurt, and he got some moments, and seemed to grow a lot throughout the season. But just the overall depth and his growth as well. You could talk on that.
Yeah, I think the depth in the room, to me, it's always, you're trying to always evolve your depth. You know, year to year, it's different. That experience level for those guys right now, they're transitioning. And I throw Jamison in with Drew Surgis, with Cam Smith, with Tayshaun James, all second-year players. So the depth of quality of just pure numbers, we have it, right? Now you're trying to establish a sense of urgency for every single day. You know, like, man, when I communicate, how am I communicating? From a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, you want to see all of that progress from different situation to different practice. So it's a steady progress with those guys. But pleased with the intent, pleased with, man, every day is a new day, and trying to just mature and hold their feet to the fire as much as possible. So when their number is called, man, they're able to execute just like the first team guys.
What is it like in your room where you have the younger guys with some experience that you just mentioned, and then those three other guys that would seem to be, have separated themselves through what they've done on the field and how often they've done it?
Can you ask that one more time, just in terms of?
It just seems like there's almost like a tier one and a tier two. How do you get them to work together and then close the gap a little bit with the depth?
I think it's the leadership I have in the room. Like, you have a Bo Freeler, who's in the building all the time. Same thing with Jeremiah Cooper. So those guys are, you try to expose them to the younger guys as much as possible, just in terms of how are we working every single day, our technique, our fundamentals, how's the communication, what are all the formation checks, right? All of those things you want them to be around the older guys so they can see how to do it and see how to perform and execute it. So you do have a tier one and a tier two. So like I just said, I'm trying to get the tier two or three guys to execute and perform like the tier one guys on a consistent basis. And you can see some of the youth within the room, but you're trying to eliminate some of those things as you move through fall camp. And we've been trying to organize that through, maybe we hold a guy or a rep count, and you're trying to, hey, day by day, I'm trying to change up the lineup so guys get used to communicating with different people, and there's not really a drop-off when a younger guy is in with the older guy, because if we look at our track record, come November, you don't know who's going to be in the lineup. So right now you're trying to force the issue right now when you have the amount of reps we have and practice time that we have. You're trying to implement some of those strategies now in fall camp. So when it gets to November, late in the year, it's not like, oh, man, we're scrambling to find guys to execute what we need to get done.
Jamison originally played high school quarterback. I think he also ran track, played baseball, maybe some other sports too. But was there a process with him where you got him and you kind of had to teach him maybe the finer points of just playing one position and safety, and just kind of get into what those adjustments or techniques were?
Yeah, I mean, he's extremely gifted in terms of his athleticism. Now you're trying to really peel back the layers of what the position is. So, man, how do you align? Who am I aligning off of? What is the depth of my alignment? Where are my eyes at? What's my read? So everything that you're trying to do, from year one when he first got here, I would say, this time last year, June, and where he's at now is completely different. But he's still green in some of the situations. Man, what is third down? How is my technique different on third down than it is in 1st and 10? How's my technique different when it's a coming out situation, right? When it's, goal line. All of those things we're trying to get as much repetition as possible so those guys can continue to grow. And for Jamison, I think it's just the consistency of doing those things every single day with a sense of urgency that, man, every rep counts. And we're trying to have like a 4th and 1 mentality that we're trying to get our job executed day in, day out.
He and maybe this was just a numbers thing because you were short on corners during the spring, but I kind of noticed he played a little bit of that in the spring game and stuff, and maybe lined up out there. Has that, not saying or asking if he's moving to corner eventually?
No, he's been at safety. He's going to stay at safety.
Those reps though, does that help him maybe be a better safety?
Yeah, I think anytime you know where other guys on the defense are and what their jobs are, it allows you to play a little bit faster. When I know, man, he's going to be here, I got a corner here, or I got, man, a linebacker here, it allows you to play with anticipation of certain alignments and where people are at for sure.
Marcus Neal was a kid you guys added late in the class last year. I think it was September, October. Ends up being a 4-star prospect. Coach Campbell's talked about him highly this offseason. What have you seen from him during camp? Because he didn't enroll in January.
Mm-hmm. The first thing that when I think of Marcus is attitude and effort. Like when you turn on the tape, it may not be the right, from assignment standpoint, he might not do the right thing, but you see how hard he plays and you see the effort and the intent that he plays with. And when you see those things at a young guy, he reminds you of a young kid like Bo. Man, when he got here on campus, he probably couldn't line up off the right person. But when the play started and you saw him run, you're like, oh, like he looks different than a lot of people. So from that standpoint, his physical attributes really stand out. And now it's just like all the younger kids, we're trying to get him caught up from an alignment and assignment standpoint. But he's been really, an intelligent kid that wants to do it, that wants to learn, really eager. So just pleased with his growth, but it's a process that he has to continue to grow at.
In talking with him throughout his recruiting process, he's a confident kid. How important is that for you to have as a defensive back or particularly a safety?
Yeah, you have to be confident. Because the nature of the position, and bad things are going to happen at some point, and 70,000, 100,000 people are looking at you. And when you don't do the right things, like how are you going to respond to that? And the kids that have short-term memory, they're able to bounce back, and it's just a small blip, right, in terms of a game or a practice session. And then to be able to respond and correct that moving forward, he has that ability.
Anything else? All right.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
You talked about kind of the two deep pretty much, or I guess be 7 guys, the top 7 guys there. But you also, in addition to Marcus Neal, I think you got Carson Van Denner, maybe one other guy there too. Beyond that top 7, how's the kind of the future of the depth chart look there at safety?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we said earlier with the tiers of guys. You got Marcus Neal, you got Carson Van Denter. We added Connor Welsh, who's a local. But all those kids are you see them from a physical standpoint. They don't look different than our upperclassmen. I think that's where sometimes as a coach you get, man, these guys they all look the same, and then it's like, oh yeah, he's been here for 3. You know what I mean? So that standpoint of you're trying to catch them up from just the mental side of it. But in terms of the athleticism. Like all of that, they're going to check the boxes, and now it's just the mental side of it, and we're trying to just hold their feet to the fire and give them reps to get them moving forward. So you never know, man. The last 3-4 years we've had to play true freshmen, but the physical side of it, they can do it. The mental side, that's what we're trying to achieve this fall camp with them.